My video about codependency, I mentioned a treatment for families. It's called Community Reinforcement and Family Training, or CRAFT. And it is available in most parts of the country or online. There are some nonprofits that make it available for family members. And it's so effective that it is also funded by certain states. I think New York and Colorado do provide free trainings for families. So craft is quite different from the kind of more old-fashioned recommendations for family members who have a loved one struggling with substance with a substance use disorder. The old model was sort of a hands-off approach. So they believed that you would allow all natural consequences, with this view that once things got really, really bad and the person hit rock bottom, that they would be ready and willing to change. The newer view is that rock bottom is perhaps, an indefinite destination, and that some of the consequences that occur if you're homeless and living on the street, you probably hit rock bottom, and yet people in that situation may not be willing to enter into recovery. So the newer thinking is people are more likely to be interested in letting go of substances, moving into recovery, when there are things in their life they really want to hold on to, when they have got some traction in their life and they can kind of see a future that looks, way better. And the only way to, you know, advance into that future is by letting go of substances. So a movement to progress in terms of aspects of your life, like having a home, getting into school, perhaps, a lot of people make changes when they have a baby on the way, when they have a job they love and they want to hold on to, when they have friends, they have a friend group that they really want, and they have connection, and they really want to hold on to that friend group. So what craft does is it starts really with something very, very important, and that is teaching families positive communication. Teaching families how to validate, how to be really good active listeners, how to keep communication very positive and reduce negative communication. So reducing attacking, blaming, yelling, expressions of anger towards a loved one, criticism, and excessive correction of the person with substance use. So focusing on positive communication, reducing negative communication, but also using positive reinforcement. So when your loved one is taking steps, when they are being considerate and thoughtful, when they take advantage of opportunities to be helpful in the house, all of those things are really reinforced by family members. The craft approach and the training also really helps family members to understand why their loved one might be using substances, to have a much more compassionate and empathic approach to substance use. And they also really encourage family members to kind of extend and increase periods of time, periods of sobriety, to the extent that they can, because the longer those patches of sobriety occur, that increases the function of the person, so they can make some traction moving towards a life worth living, a life without substances. So, that might be, if your person tends to start using at 7 o'clock after dinner, you might plan or encourage to go for a walk together at that time, and, be really connected, have some fun together. You're just trying to increase those windows of time in which substances are not used. The other thing is that, it's being circumspect about natural consequences. So natural consequences that really do help your loved one to learn that substance use is a problem are very different from natural consequences that lead to, you know, um, safety concerns or just, decrease their quality of life significantly. So um, there's a very old-fashioned view that you should have a hands-off view and not even, help your loved one who's on the street homeless stay warm, find a shelter, get to a better place, just to kind of allow them to feel that natural consequence. Well, we have in some states a pretty harsh winter, and we have, you know, an inadequate programs in most cities for homeless people. So living on the street is a safety problem. You can die of the cold. You are really vulnerable to traumatic events. You are more likely, if you overdose, not to get the help that you need. So we, you know, Kraft is not in favor of allowing those natural consequences. They would say, yeah, send a pizza. If it's a particularly cold night, it might be okay to pay for a hotel. You've got to kind of figure out what is uh, what is acceptable and what is safe. And those sort of acts of love and care increase connection and maintain the relationship, which means you can then have more leverage to encourage a person towards recovery. So I recommend Craft to anyone who has a spouse, a child, another family member, or a close friend with substance use. Figure out how to really be a sort of useful support. And I think the other part of Craft is that, no matter what happens, having had a positive relationship with your loved one while they are using substances um, is really comforting to family members who understand that this is a life and death condition. And if you were to lose your family member, at least within the Craft model, you would have known that a lot of your experiences with your loved one were positive.